Episode 155, and we are here. Episode 155 kind of reminds me of Tim Lincecum with the 55.
155.5 because it's just a preview of a show. So 55.5.
Maybe I don't know. It's the only time I'm gonna be able to talk about myself or just my team the entire episode. Because we are here to talk about some stuff that is not Giants related at all, because the Giants suck and they're not in the playoffs. So,
exactly, yes.
So, I mean, I know we're here to talk about my second favorite team, which is anybody playing the Los Angeles Dodgers.
There's no way you're going to say that the Padres are your second favorite team right now. There's no way.
It's just anyone playing the Dodgers is my second favorite team. So
even in that context, it sounds dirty.
I like to get dirty sometimes. But before, I think we should also acknowledge, I guess, that you're batting 1,000 in predictions in the post. Like, if you actually made a bracket, you'd be like on your way right now. I know you're going to mess it up because you're going to have Dodgers all the way through, but still.
Maybe, but I don't want to jinx it, so I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guessed everything correctly. The Tigers did beat the Astros. The Royals did beat the Orioles. The Mets beat the Brewers. The only series that went to 3 games in pretty dramatic fashion. And the Padres beat the Braves. Now with the next step, the next set of series, I think it's fair. Maybe I should try to redeem myself for my one miscue in believing in the Orioles. So just go by one. Philly and New York. I think the Cinderella story ends here, and we're going to see Philly in the NLCS.
Okay. Yo, you want I thought you were going to run through all your picks first.
No, I would love to hear what you would say.
For the sake of arguing, I'm going to go Mets.
Okay.
I think I said it last time. I think they have that feeling of the D-backs of last year. They got hot at the right time. They are getting the right matchups, and they hate each other. That's a rivalry series. They hate each other, so anything can happen. Besides the fact that it's already the postseason, the fact that these guys hate each other, it's just going to intensify that. So whatever all they've been through, the injuries, they're not going to feel any of that because they hate these guys. They're going to try to beat them. So give me the Mets. Give me the LOL Mets.
I feel like you're saying that just because you would rather play the Mets than the Phillies.
Not if they're that hot. I mean, if whoever wins the series,
true.
that means they're the better team. So you want to face the other team.
True.
You always want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're going to skip this. We're going to end with the series we're talking about. So we're going to go over to the American League. We're going to go back and forth. And Detroit versus Cleveland. I think Detroit is that team that's just hot at the right time. And because I just got a little man crush on Detroit for lots of reasons. So I'm going Detroit over Cleveland.
I think the Cinderella story ends there.
Wow, you're going to use... Okay, still my line. That's fine. Okay.
I only say that because the Guardians have really good pitching. That's how they made their mark this year. That's how they won that division. And they got a great closer in Class A. So as much as I want the Tigers to win, their pitchers are a ragtag team. It's like it's skewball. And then, hey, man, we just need you to be your best right now kind of thing. And it worked in a short series. Right. But now where it's a longer series and you do need, length and all this other stuff, I don't know. I don't think the Guardians are this juggernaut of an offense, but their pitching I just give them the edge. So I think the Guardians advance in that series.
Yeah, if only they had a guy like Jack Flaherty to be in their rotation, they would. I'm sure they probably would be a little better down the line. Royals versus Yankees. Gosh, I feel like the Yankees are having just like a cream walk to the ALCS, but I don't know. I'm just gonna have to go Yankees just based on everything.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I know they're facing. Wait, who are they facing again? The Royals, right? Yeah,
Royals. Yeah. You said,
Um,
wait, who am I predict again?
yeah, because I confused them, the Tigers and them. But I don't know. I think the Yankees just are going to be too good. If if Soto and Judge show up, kind of doesn't matter what
Yeah.
anybody does because they can carry. So at least
Yeah.
in that short series, maybe that's the difference. But if they can shut them down, I don't know, man. The Royals won what, like 1-0, 2-1. Like
Yeah. Can
it
work
doesn't
against the
scream
Yankees.
like we're gonna be able to keep up with the Yankees if they get hot. So
Yeah.
I'm taking the Yankees too, man.
Okay. And the series we're all here to talk about. The reason why I have the brown Giants hat, I have to be arguing in face of this team, and I really do hope they knock out the Dodgers. So I'm going with the San Diego Padres. They're going to be the Dodgers.
I mean, we're gonna get into it, but obviously, I'm picking the Dodgers to win this series. I do feel you asked me before we get on if I was nervous, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. When I found out that they were going to be the opponent, I felt like, yeah, you know what, bring them on. Like,
Right.
You have to exercise some demons at some point. You got to do it. You know, you lost to them, and you were embarrassed that series. If this being your chance to get redemption, you don't take it, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you don't even show up to this series, I don't know. But I feel like it's going to be the opposite. I feel like they're going to come in. They know what, they're focused. They know what happened before. Maybe the Padres come in a little more confident, and we take advantage of that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about all these different facets of the game and on each of these teams, and we should kind of want to go over their starting pitching first.
Okay.
So that's where we're gonna go. We're gonna break it down game by game. I know when we get to game 3 and game 4, that's a little more shaky as far as who's gonna be pitching, but we know for sure game 1 we got Dylan Cease and Yamamoto, and we're hiding behind them, but right here, baby, you can kind of see me. What's good? Yeah. So if you're just looking at, I mean, obviously Yamamoto has pitched a lot less than Dylan Cease, but man, through a lot, longer of a period. I mean, the only thing he really has on him is ERA, because even strikeout percentage, Dylan Cease has him, and so I'm not sure if we're picking one over the other, but if if you were to, it seems like it would be slam dunk Cease over Yamamoto.
Well, obviously, I mean, I love Yoshinobu, but the other guy was there the whole season, so obviously. But talent-wise, Yamamoto's right there with him. If he can pitch like he did at right before he got injured, which was against the Yankees, if that Yamamoto shows up, you're looking at a Dodgers game 1 victory, I think.
Yeah, because I think the Dodgers got to Cease a little bit last time they faced him, right?
Yeah. They tagged them for maybe 3-4 runs or something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, by the same token, the Padres have gotten to Yamamoto pretty badly both times that they've seen him. So it's just who shows up. If the Yamamoto that showed up in New York, and there was a couple other games where he pitched really, really well. If that Yamamoto shows up, then I think we're looking at a game 1 victory. And it's funny, man. You gave the guy $300 million, and somehow, some way, it ends up that he's your number 1 starter. The way it was going to be all along.
Right. How many innings do you think he's going to go?
I'm thinking they're going to let him go until he's done. So I'm hoping this is hopeful thinking, but I'm hoping he goes 6. I don't think he might. I think in reality is maybe he goes 4, maybe 5 if he's, everything's under control. But I'd hope if it's a good outing, I hope he goes 6.
Okay, so all right, that makes a lot of sense. We're going down to game 2 now. I was shocked to see that Yu Darvish had this many starts this year. I thought he only started a handful of times, but 16 games was a lot more than I thought that he did. Numbers do look good, and Yu Darvish has that postseason experience. Some of it bad, but some of it good. So Um, this could, I mean, crazy thing is it's baseball, so it could always go either way. But somebody that has that postseason experience, I think you can kind of take that to the bank a little more. So I'm going to lean on that to have for you to go deep into this game and shut down the Dodgers.
Again, it's when it's a division rival, it's you throw most of that stuff out of the way because this guy
roll
has
the dice,
us,
baby.
He has owned us, plenty of times. But in the postseason, you never know. I mean, he faced Kershaw, and they both went. I mean, Kershaw might have gone 4, and he went like 6, and they each gave up 3 runs. So, I mean, you're just hoping that you can stay in the game with him. If you can't get to him, just keep it close because he's a hell of a pitcher, man.
Yeah, and it's crazy that he's still pitching this well while being so old. This is where it kind of gets a little tricky and a lot more lopsided. Maybe you wouldn't thought that 2 years or a year ago, but if this is what you're looking at Game 3, I think the Dodgers got to take the first 2 because the way Michael King's been pitching and the way Walker Buehler's been pitching, it seems like this is a layup for the Padres in Game 3 if this is what it ends up being.
Unfortunately, whatever's written in paper is never the way it goes. And we've seen Buehler on the road. He's not the same pitcher anymore. Obviously, he's coming back from his second Tommy John. But if there's anybody I want on the mound that knows the kind of atmosphere and what you're getting into in hostile environment and what you need to do, I'm taking Buehler. Like anybody else in that staff, I'm taking Buehler. Obviously, Michael King is nasty, but I'm saying on the Dodgers side, right. I have all the faith that Walker Buehler will show up. Michael King it's an uphill battle against that dude. You saw him in the first game versus the Braves. Dudes were hitting at swinging at pitches on the other batter's box. I mean, he was nasty. So, right. But if there's anybody with the mentality that I want to be in there, I think it's Buehler. I think it's going to be a tough game in that environment, but I have to trust him. So as long as he keeps it close, gives up only 3 runs, maybe less, that's golden in my book. I don't need him to be. Well, I'd like him to be shutout Buehler, but I don't think he's that guy. So if he can just give me 2 runs, 3 runs, I mean, he did his job.
3 runs over 4 innings.
Give me 5.
Well, I think Buehler's last start, I think he went 5. I think that was against the Rockies.
Oh yeah. And before that, with the Braves, he really had a really good outing as well.
Okay, maybe he's back.
Maybe he's trending in the right direction at the right time, and that's all that it takes, man. You never know.
Because this is the first time I'm going to say this throughout the episode, which I'm sure I'm going to say it a bunch of times. At the end of the day, you can almost throw all these stats away. It's who's feeling good at the time. So if Walker Buehler is just getting in his stride, I mean, he's as dangerous as anyone, but at the same time, he's also shown that he can get his ass kicked this year. So
exactly.
I think, but like I said, I think it's really important for the Dodgers to take the first 2 games. I think Game 3 is set in stone, and Game 4 is kind of a toss-up because both starting pitchers they're not necessarily that bad, but they're not necessarily that great either. I think Landon Knack was really good at first and then really started to scuffle, which is not who you want pitching in a postseason game, but he's had a lot of rest. Maybe that's all he needed. Young guy, not used to pitching that much.
Listen, we're going to get one of these teams have a Tyler Anderson performance from the 2022 NLDS. You didn't expect it. He came out and went 6 innings, scoreless, was really good. That's either going to be Perez or Knack. One of these guys is going to give you a really good outing that you're going to be like, okay, like, thank you. Like, this guy came to play. I don't know who it's going to be, but if any of those games was going to be that, it's going to be that number 4 game 4, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think if we're talking starting rotations, who has the upper hand, I think the Padres for sure. That's the one thing they have that is a for sure stamp on starting rotation. Padres have the upper hand here.
But here's the problem, dude, and here's the great thing about postseason
What's the
baseball.
problem?
It only takes you winning one of those games when you're like, okay, now they're kind of in trouble because now they're going to lean on Perez. They need to win one of those games with him, kind of thing. So that's the beauty of baseball. Like, all it takes is one game, and then the narrative completely shifts.
Right. Well, when the starting pitching gets knocked out, whether it be in the first inning or they gets knocked out just because they run out of pitches in the eighth inning, the bullpen comes in. And these two teams actually, have pretty decent bullpens. I think the Dodgers were third in ERA, and the Padres are closer to fifth in ERA when I was looking up the stats. But here's the most notable stats here. Dodgers have the Padres in bullpen ERA. They also have them in WHIP. The kind of interesting thing is the Dodgers gave up a lot more home runs than the Padres bullpen, as well as giving up a lot more walks. So, I mean, technically over the year, the Dodgers bullpen has been substantially better when you're looking at ERA and WHIP. But when you're looking at these little stats, when they're, giving up walks and giving up the long ball, man, that's just asking for a 2-run deficit right there. Just a walk, instead of a bloop and a blast, you got a walk and a blast. So that's the only really noteworthy thing I have for it. But and I think also I read somewhere that the Padres bullpen, their big guys have been kind of struggling coming into this. So, what do you think?
They got Tanner Scott. They got Robert Suarez at the back end, and then you've got Jason Adam. So it's a very formidable group, and they also have that other kid, Estrada. So it's a very formidable group, but there's been some cracks in that bullpen, and you've seen it in the first 2 games that they played. So we'll see.
Yeah, because if they're leaking oil, I mean that's the only way to really get to them. Doesn't like we said, doesn't matter what really happened in the season. If they're tired, in a 2 or 3 game stretch, they're out. They're going home. So,
and I mean, as painful as that triple play was at the time,
right.
They got to Suarez. I mean, it took a great triple play to beat him, but he looked like he was leaking oil there. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise for us that they did win it, because they'll keep him as closer instead of making a change, and
right.
Maybe this shows up in the series. We'll see.
Yeah, it's almost like you had him on the ropes, which means like, hey, we had you, but we're not going to cash that into like I have the coupon to pay for the product, but I'm going to keep this coupon.
They're like, hey, we have the blueprint now, but we're just saving it for later.
Right. We don't want to have you make any adjustments. So
exactly.
When you look at these bullpens, ERA is really close. I feel like, I guess it's not that close. A full quarter of a point is not that close. But when you look at, there's so many big home runs in the postseason, and walking and giving guys free passes can really bite you. I'm not sure which would have like the leg up. Do you feel like the Dodgers have a better bullpen than the Padres? Do you feel more sure of them, or are you wishing you had their guys for you?
Okay, so I kind of feel like the Padres are more like, what you're going to get out of them, right? Like they've been pretty consistent, so you know what you're going to get out of Adams and Suarez. The fastball, he's Bobby fastballs, and so yeah. But I think at the Dodgers, you kind of have like a high risk, high reward. Joe Kelly can come in and strike out the side and make you look silly, or he can give up 3 bombs and lose you the game. There's no in between with that guy, right? Kopech is nasty. But if he loses control, he's not going to do anything out there. So I do think the Dodgers, it's a lot closer than people think. I think they have a lot of talent in that bullpen. I don't know. I think I'm taking the Dodgers bullpen over them for now. I think we have a little bit more power arms. I don't know. It's really close. But I have seen the cracks with the Padres. And if your closer's not doing well, it doesn't matter what the other guys do, because he's the guy that has to close out the game. So it doesn't matter if the other guys were great. He comes in, there's no game after that. So game's over.
Complete games are super rare in the postseason, not just because the starter gets knocked out, but every game counts so much, and analytics and numbers are just so important to front offices. Even when a guy's dominating, they give up 1 walk in the 8th and they're at 95 pitches. They're like, all right, now we're done. So,
true.
bullpens are just going to be relied on I mean, they are relied on more and more every year, it seems like. So I'm going to go Padres because I want them to win. So I want them to have 2 legs up, because what I think we're about to talk about, I think is a pretty, I don't know. Maybe there's an argument to make. Maybe I can squeeze my way into the Padres having a better offense. I doubt it. But let's look at these lineups. Offensively, gosh, the Dodgers top 3 are better than the Padres top 3 by a mile. But when you're looking at that 4 through 9, I mean, Machado kills Teoscar. Merrill's better than Muncy. Bogarts is better than Smith right now. Cronenworth, maybe not over Edman because he's hot, but yeah, I guess for as like a deeper lineup, I might have to give it to the Padres, just because you're also relying on Edman, Lux, and Rojas, and you don't know what's going on with Smith. Always kind of catchers usually dip at this time of year, and Bogarts, Cronenworth, and Donnie Barrels, my guy, and then plus the Padres catcher who no one knew unless you were a Yankee fan beforehand, is just hitting home runs every game. So, well, where are you at?
I don't know, man. I think it's a little disrespectful to say, that they have a better lineup than the Dodgers. I mean, if they did, they would have won the West. It would have been, they would have had all this other accolades. They didn't.
Through 1 through 9, you can make that argument. I'm
your
not sure
number
that I
one
believe
hitter
it,
is a singles merchant. So
that's what
right?
you usually want as a leadoff hitter. You want that guy just to be on base, whether he walks a lot or gets on.
But you compare him to Ohtani, it's like, okay. So the first 3 are like, okay, the first 3 are superior for sure. I don't think there's that much of a drop off between Teoscar, Muncy, and Smith, and then you're like Machado, Merrill, Bogarts. Bogarts is not feared. He might come through in a lot of might come through, and I might eat my words, sure. But I mean, we're forgetting that Smith has come through in a lot of big moments for the Dodgers, including against the Padres last week. Muncy as well in the playoffs. So I think it's a little disrespectful to just look over what Muncy and Smith have done in the past,
right?
In the playoffs. So obviously I'm a homer, but I'm definitely taking them. I mean, I don't. Merrill is amazing, but he's still a rookie. We're gonna see how he handles this spotlight right here. We'll see how it goes. Bogarts is, I don't know. I don't think he's had a good year, and Cronenworth is struggling as well. So it does.
Machado's really hot though, and Machado I would take over Teoscar any day of the week. I would take Machado over anyone in the Dodgers lineup starting 3 through 9. Obviously, Ohtani and Betts beat him, but I would take Machado over Freeman, especially in the playoffs.
I don't know. See, that's a lot of recency bias right there, dude.
Well, that's what we're doing. We're recency as in right now. This is for
you're
this
saying if there's an at-bat with your line on the with your life on the line, you're taking Machado over Freeman?
Give me Iguodala.
Give me Freeman 10 times out of 10. First of all, we're gonna get into it later, but this guy went through a parent's worst nightmare. He had a fractured finger and a high ankle sprain or whatever it is, and he's still in there. He's such a warrior, dude. So I'm taking Freeman over almost everybody in that lineup too.
Everybody in the line.
If you need to win a game, I'm taking Freeman. I think he can make better contact.
Or the aliens have the laser beam or the
new year.
Give me Iguodala. Give me Higashaga, or how I can't even say his name right now.
Higgy.
Yeah,
we'll just go with Higgy.
Yeah, we're just going with Higgy. Man, yeah. Is that who you're thinking? I know they don't give out NLDS MVPs, but if we're talking MVP of the series, if there is one, if they did give out NLDS MVPs, you won in 4 games. Who are you giving that award to, Dave? Who's the guy that took it to the promised land?
In the wild card?
No, in the NLDS, in this series that we're talking about right now.
Oh, okay. You know what? You know who I think, and I don't think I've been saying it, but I've just been thinking it, that he's going to come through. I don't know why, but I just think Tommy Edman's going to be a big difference maker in this series.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was expecting you just to stick with Freeman because you just went on that long
I think they're
speech
gonna
about.
forget about him at the bottom of the lineup and maybe
Okay.
relax a little bit. And we've seen Tommy Tanks, hit some out, but maybe
Right.
he comes out with a big hit or something. I think he might be the MVP of the NLDS.
Right. My first initial reaction is I want to give it to Donnie B, and just because he's my guy, and make him the MVP because he's pissed off, and this guy is like 45 years old at this point, and he's still bouncing around baseball and just hitting everywhere he goes. Giants, masher, Twins, masher. All of a sudden, the Padres get him. It's like, well, he's not going to get any at bats. He's playing first base every day, so I want to give it to him, but I don't think he's even the most important guy for the Padres. If I were to pick one guy, I think this guy will show up in October because he's ready for it. It's got to be Manny Machado. He's like Mr. Padre. He hates the Dodgers because they didn't give him that money that he wanted. So I'm going, Machado.
It's easy to pick the stars, but from experience, in 2022, when we lost to them, it wasn't the Machados, it wasn't the Tatis, it was the Cronenworths, it was the Grishams of the world, the Hassan Kims that beat us. So that's what it comes down to. The big guys are going to get all the attention. So when the bottom of the lineup comes up, that's when it's going to matter. If they can show up, they'll be the MVPs.
So let's just say this goes. How many games? Let's say it goes 4 games. 4 times 5 is 20. Ohtani's getting 20 at bats. How many hits is he getting? How many home runs is he hitting?
Honestly, I can't answer that question without seeing how they're going to pitch to him. Because if they decided like, hey, man, you're not beating us. We don't care if Mookie hits a 2-run shot. We're going to take that risk over you hitting with somebody on base or something, whatever it is.
Really?
I just want to see how they're going to pitch to him first. If they're going to pitch to him, what the strategy is. I mean, if they're pitching to him, I think he's locked in. I think he's maybe 2 home runs, 2 big ones. That's just but we'll see. I think he's locked in, and I think we're going to see a good performance in the NLDS from Shohei.
Right. So if there's one of the 3, Freeman, Betts, Ohtani, one guy is going to go 1 for 20. Who's that guy going to be?
I hate to say it, but maybe Freddie.
Oh, you just talked up Freddie.
I understand that. But if I have to pick out of those 3 for somebody to have a bad series, it would make sense that the guy dealing with so many injuries probably doesn't do well. But that's just worst case scenario. We're talking worst case scenario. I don't think he's going to be that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Man. I don't know. This is like almost do or die. Just for anyone who is in America who wants to see the Dodgers fail, because I feel like only Dodger fans want the Dodgers to win. There's a lot. I think everyone else is rooting for the Padres. I think everyone else would want the Phillies, and obviously the Mets. They're like the team this year. So, gosh, I feel like this is like the best punch the National League has against the Dodgers.
It's the funniest NLDS series we're going to see because everybody hates each other, apparently. The Phillies hate the Mets. The Mets hate the Phillies. The Dodgers don't like the Padres. The Padres hate the Dodgers. So it should be fun series, both of them, because I think on the other side, you're just like, all right, Yankees, you just need to get there because come on.
Right. And Dodger fans, I'm sorry, but if I have to hear you upset that people are chanting beat LA one more time, the Padres are about to play you in the next series. They're going to chant beat LA. It's a thing. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why it makes you so upset, why you think people are obsessed with you. They just want to advance. Okay.
Okay.
I can't do it. I can't do it anymore, Dave.
Hey, man, in the history of sports, the majority of time, whenever somebody wins a series and starts mocking or starts saying something,
right,
it never works out.
Right. And that's another thing that maybe you should bring up. Like so every single time people chanting.
I've mouth shut and been like, you guys go ahead and do all the talking. And hopefully it works out for you guys, because it doesn't necessarily always work out for teams that get overconfident.
Right. Yeah, I think it's never worked out for teams, because the usual one is we want whoever the next team is.
Yeah.
So we want Houston. We want we've heard it multiple times and it always ends out bad. That's what I would be pointing out. I would also point out that usually what happens, like I'm pointing out like as if I'm on the other side, I would point out the fact that whatever happens in the regular season, usually the opposite happens in the playoffs. I mean, the Dodgers
it almost has no bearing.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. I think it holds a lot of bearing, but the opposite way. I mean, last year when everyone was talking about how, the Merrill Kelly has never beaten the Dodgers and Kershaw has never lost to the Diamondbacks at home, I was like, this is just set up. There's no way the Dodgers are winning today. And I feel like because the Dodgers lost 2 times to an NLDS opponent the last 2 years, and the Padres beat the living crap out of the Dodgers in the regular season, it's literally, I feel like, setting up for a Dodgers win. So hopefully the Phillies take care of business.
And yeah, true that. And I remember in 2017, Dodgers they couldn't buy a win versus the Diamondbacks, and then they faced them in the NLDS, and it was like completely different team. Like, what just happened? So
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, I will say 2022, I don't think this team took the Padres seriously. I think they thought, hey, man, if we show up, it's just whatever we did in the regular season is just going to translate. It's going to be the same thing. Then we worry about the next series. And they got punched in the mouth.
Right.
Last year, they're like, hey, we're here too. We're going to punch you in the mouth too. And so I would
Your ass got jumped. That's
why I'm a little more confident that at least they will show up this series.
All right.
But we'll see.
We will see. Man, is there any last words that you have for either the Dodgers or Padres, or Dodgers fans or Padres fans?
Well, I mean, they just lost Musgrove, right? And I don't think it's as big as it would be in a 7-game series, because I still think that they hold the advantage pitching wise, but maybe it evens out the series a little bit more, just a tad more, that we have more of a chance pitching wise, I think.
Okay. All right. How many games do you think this is going to go?
Oh, man. Personally, I hope it only goes 3 and we sweep, but I can see this going 5 games, dude. This matchup is probably going to be the most fun matchup in the whole playoffs, I would say.
Right.
They're just the flavor of the moment right now, both these teams, that like they don't like each other. So it should go 5 and it should be really fun, but for my heart, for my mental health, I just hope it goes 3 and we win.
All right. Well, we're going to be back. So I think the series ends on what? On a Tuesday? Oh, that's way too early.
That's way too early. I think it ends on Wednesday. Yeah, that'd be 4 games, right?
Yeah, well, it could go 5. So, and I think they schedule it all the way up to just in case games. So the first game of the NLCS is Sunday, October 13th. So more than a week away.
Let me ask you something before we move on.
Let me hit you with some knowledge. What's up?
No, let me ask you something so obviously you hate the Dodgers. That's fine.
100%.
Always. But I'm going to ask you objectively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose this first series, do you like, oh, okay, well, they had no pitching, they had a lot of injuries, or does that not matter because they spent $1 billion in the offseason?
I think both. I think that you could injuries do happen. So you do have to be like, they do have no pitching, and they had a lot of pitching. Yeah, they had a lot of pitching beforehand. Just Kershaw never made it out. Like I didn't look up how many games he started. He may have started like 4 or 5, maybe.
No, he had more than that, but yeah, it wasn't that many.
It seemed like a super blip on the radar that he was barely there. even like your guys that were good last year, Sheehan out for the year, Gonsolin out for the year, May out. That was like, oh, May's coming back and he's just a bonus beat out for the year. Gavin Stone,
I mean, Glass
had a
now,
really
dude.
good year.
If we had Glass now, it's a completely different conversation.
Oh yeah, and Glass now. So I mean, so that I feel like there is a lot of injuries to where you could be like, what can we do? There's no starting pitching, but at the same time, you're the Los Angeles Dodgers. You knew that at least the trade deadline how bad it could get. You should have gotten at least another starter because Flaherty's killing it. I mean, you got Yamamoto back. You're relying on at least one of your guys. Yeah, you're relying on Knack too. I mean, let's not a 3.5, or I think he had closer to a 3 ERA on the year. It's not like he had like 2 or 3 starts. He was there for a decent amount of time, and that's nothing to sniff at. I understand he kind of dipped and not exactly up to the Dodger standard, but when you're a 4 or 5, that I don't know. He can
the step back that Bobby Miller took.
That's true. That's another guy that was supposed to be a dude that's just, you can't really predict that either. So, I don't know. I feel like you knew all that kind of stuff though at the trade deadline, where you could have tried to acquire another piece or two with, even if it wasn't Flaherty's status, you could have went down a little bit further and got a couple guys at least just to give you innings.
They should have got one of your guys. They should have gotten either Cobb or
they wouldn't have traded nobody.
I know they wouldn't have traded.
We don't have to be like, in reality, the Giants weren't trading nobody. They were just gonna hold their breath and cross their fingers and hope Farhan kept his job, which he did not. So the Buster Posey dick dropping tour is now going to be as a president of baseball operations, not a catcher. So look forward to that next year. Yeah. So to answer your question, that didn't really answer it. I would say both. I mean, I don't think heads have to roll. Maybe if they have a first round exit, I don't know. I think there's got to be a scapegoat there, probably.
I think Roberts is the scapegoat, right?
It would have to be, because we're going to get rid of Freeman. Maybe their GM, because I don't think anyone knows their name besides you. And like Dodger fans, like no one fucking knows who that dude is. It's just Freeman. Everything is Freeman. They're not letting Freeman go. So I would imagine there's no other scapegoat that could be besides Roberts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So both. You spend $1 billion. I mean, you have Ohtani coming next year, but at the same time, you can't expect him to throw 180 innings next year when he's just coming back from Tommy John. I mean, it's just another one of those situations where you got to baby him.
It's going to be a weird season, huh? It's probably going to be a weird season for him because he's going to be pitching, but then, they're going to be careful with that. And then it probably won't have the same output offensively because now he's worried about pitching too. So we'll see how that goes. So
yeah,
this postseason he can go all out.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. So? I think he'll be fine, but I think that, like, I'm sure he's still going to hit every day. I think he's probably still going to hit close to 40, 50 home runs. Maybe he won't steal 50 bags and he'll just steal we go back to just stealing like 10 or 12, but who cares? Even if he starts, for half the season just because they're being cautious and he has 15 starts but is ready for the postseason, no one cares. Dodgers are still going to win 95 plus games. Probably win the division. So
I don't know about that. I think the division thing is getting closer with the Padres and the D-backs. I mean, I think the Padres are here. I don't think that they're still coming. I think they're here. They're competition.
Wow.
You don't think so?
I'm standing right here, dude. Like, you couldn't at least just put us in the conversation just because I'm right here.
You guys need to finish 500 first, and then we can talk. But
we finished 500 in 2022. What are you talking about? Exactly.
Hey, man. Hey, that's 2 years ago. We don't live there anymore.
Come on.
But I don't.
We
think
improved by 2 games. Come on, now we're 2 games under
anymore, right? Maybe I'll be dead wrong next year, but I don't think they can coast where like, oh, we're gonna give all these guys days off because like we're gonna have a 10-game lead kind of thing. But who knows?
Well, this year was very close. You know, they've been winning with 10, 15 game leads. Now this year it literally came down to the second to last series of the year where it was like, oh shoot, if the Padres sweep us, they have the tiebreaker. It's, you know, it was still a little far fetched, but it was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see where you're coming from there, but I don't know. I until they don't win the division, without a magical year from, you know, I can't. I see them just win the division till they don't.
All right, I love it. Love it.
So we'll see. I mean, we'll let you guys know we're going to be back. You know, it might be right after Game 3. It might be right after Game 4. It might be right before the NLCS. Who knows? And hopefully it's just us two, and we're talking about how sad Dave is because he lost again.
It's gonna be like if they lose and you want to record, it's gonna look a little something like this.
Okay.
I just won't be here.
You're just gonna have your arms crossed and pouty face.
Dave, say
I don't want to talk about it anymore. Oh shit. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform, as well as YouTube. I know we don't have them right under Dave anymore because now this is a whole nother a thing because it's postseason now and we're serious here. But make sure to follow us on your social medias: Twitter, Benches Cleared P, TikTok, Benches Cleared, and Instagram, Benches Cleared Podcast. And we'll see you guys next week at some point. We'll let you know when the pod is coming. Dave, what do you got for him?
Yeah, man. Keep the faith. We should be going really strong tomorrow. We should win the first one and hopefully the second. And who knows? We'll be talking about it maybe Monday after the weekend. See how it goes.
We'll see you then.